Do you want to know how to make a superb, stunning, but very inexpensive hanging basket? Well, I'm going to show you how. I'm Paul Hamby. I'm going to show you how to make an hanging basket that'll cost a fraction of what it would cost if you went and bought one in a garden centre. I mean, ideally, you do need a greenhouse, so you need somewhere to hang it for it to grow. It takes 6 weeks to reach maturity. So what we're going to do, it's a wire basket. First of all, we need to line it. There's lots of liners available, from your cocoa fibres to your wool moss on a roll. But because you're not going to see any other basket or any of the liner once it's grown, just use a compost bag. You're using the compost anyway. So the first tip I'm going to give you, in true Yorkshireman style, don't spend money on expensive liners. Just basically use the inside of your compost bag. You've bought your compost bag, you're using the compost. Let's just use the bag to line it. You're not going to see any of the basket or any of the liner once it's grown. So why spend money on something that you're not going to see? Turn it inside out. So the black is what you will see on the basket. And that's what's going to line your basket. Gently push it in. Just making sure that it is well above the top side of your basket. Then get your good quality peat compost and just get that in the middle. So the money you save on your liner, you can spend it then making sure that your compost is a good quality compost and not just a cheap compost, because you will get the benefits later on in the year when it's growing. Never firm the compost down with the palm of your hand. We don't want the compost firm. We just want to push it into the corners just with your fingers. A little tap all the way around. A little tap, and then just give it a trim. Initially, what we're going to do is we're not going to cut it neat, and we're not going to cut it very close to the basket. We're just going to roughly cut it round so we can see what we're doing. We will trim it off, make it look neater later. So as you can see, it's still not quite full to the top, so we're just going to add a little bit more of the good quality peat-based compost. Now, you want to be very careful when you are doing this. Don't fill your basket too much. What we're looking for is we've got to water this basket every day through the season. So you want to drop your compost level on your plastic at least like an inch. So an inch of water will travel 9 inches through soil. So when you water it, fills the canopy, soaks through the basket, ensuring that the basket's completely saturated. That's that first stage of it. Now we've got past the boring bit, the lining of the basket, get onto the more interesting side of it. So we make us plant selection. So I've got a series of sort of trailing, semi-trailing, semi-upright and cascading plants. What you're looking at when you are making your plant, when you are choosing your plants, make sure it's got a nice root system on it. Make sure it's a nice healthy plant, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a big all singing, all dancing plant. That's what we're more interested in, the plug. In fact, prior to putting this in, what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to cut that plant in half. And that's what I'm looking to put in my basket. You should be making your baskets around about the 23rd of April. It takes about 5 or 6 weeks for it to reach maturity. There's no real benefit in making them any earlier. The chances of frost diminish the further on we get in the season. I'm not saying there's not going to be a frost, but you've got longer days, less chance of frost. So now that I've made my plant selection that I'm happy with, I'll show you how to put them into the basket. Right, now I've got my hanging basket, a nice comfortable height to work on. We've pushed all the compost down, so it's all pushed into size, as you can see. Don't matter if it's double and creased, because we can send the knife through. What you want then is a nice craft knife, and obviously being very careful not to slice your fingers off. You make a little X or a T in the basket, push your finger in, get a plant, push the plant in, and as simple as that. When you're on about spacings between plants, the closest these plants want to be is a fist apart. The furthest really they want to be about is finger thumb. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a square, then we're going to miss a square, and we're going to do a square. Some baskets have got different designs, but that's the sort of distance that we're looking at in order for the basket to completely fill. So I'll miss a square, again make a little T, just push my finger in, just push the compost out the way, next plant in, and repeat. And if you haven't got a greenhouse, but you still want an hanging basket, in a week or so we're going to be doing some hanging baskets that can go straight out into your garden. So just make sure when you cut in the top, just hold the plastic like I'm doing there, just hold it firm, and then the knife should go in nice and easy. In a couple of weeks we can have a little walk around, and then I can explain to you the varied selection of plants that we've got available and most garden centres and nurseries have available throughout the year to create your perfect hanging basket. Okay. Right. All right. Take your hanging basket down, and then we're going to take the chains back off. We only put the chains on just very temporary. Just so we could hang it, it will go back on. So the chain's off. Now what we're going to do is we'll get rid of any air pockets that we've created by putting his fingers in to get the plugs in. So just give it a little tap. If you notice at the top as well, your plug plant, it's above the compost. It doesn't want to be above the compost. You can add some compost, add some more compost to it, or simply just smooth it across. Right, so prior to us planting the top, what we're going to do is we're just going to give it a little neat trim. We've tapped this compost down, we're happy with the levels, and we're just going to make it a little bit neater. So as we just go around. And again, it's not massively important this, because you really are not going to see any of this hanging basket once it's in full bloom. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to put six plants around the outer edge. This is where we use more of us cascading plants, and we're going to put a centre plant in. Centre plant's going to be an upright pelargonium. So we'll do the centre one first, and it's just an easy operation. Just make a little hole, just cover it with a little bit of compost. I'm going to put a trailing geranium, and again, we put the trailing geranium at the top because it usually comes in a larger plug cell, so it's a little bit more difficult to put in the side. And then 2, 3, 4, just 5 plants. So we're going to put a couple of Saphinias in, just making sure that opposite end of the baskets. Lovely Nepeta, lovely cascading full foliage plant, a Diacia and a Verbena. And again, a little tap, filling them air pockets. So we have got a large selection of plants. And I did mention that Saphinias, which is a branded name, petunia, very vigorous trailing petunia, we put them at opposite side of the baskets. If you put them all to one side, you tend to find that your basket's a little lopsided. It's the most vigorous plant you can buy, the most vigorous trailing plant. It'll get to about 3 foot. So if we put them at opposite sides, they're both different colours. One's a white, one's a burgundy. You get a more even distribution of blooms throughout your hanging basket. Right, my basket's going to stay in for the next 6 weeks. I'm going to water regular, but I'm not going to saturate it. But on your first water, because it's plug plants we've used and not mature plants, make sure that you water at the top on the outer edge and even water on the outside, up and down your hanging basket, just making sure that they are wet and they're not in any dry pockets. Misconception about your hanging basket especially when you're growing them, it doesn't need to be saturated. It just needs to be nice and moist in a frost-free environment, plenty of daylight away from direct sunlight. And like I've mentioned, it takes around about 6 weeks in order for it to fully mature and it's ready to go out in your garden. Right, we're going to come back to this hanging basket next week. And we're going to see if it just needs any attention, any little bits and bats, and how to maintain it as it's growing. And then what I'll do is I'll go through how we feed it throughout the season. Our regular feeding will ensure that this hanging basket lasts all the way through to October. But more importantly, not only does it last to October, it'll look fantastic all the way through to October.